Hello all, thank you for joining our afternoon training session with iGyro. Today we're going to be going through the creation of Bill of Quantities and purchase orders, and the platform, we call that Estimata inside iGyro. So I'll show you how to find that section in just a second. So at the moment we're looking at the iGyro home screen or job screen, and you've obviously got your list of jobs at the top in all the different categories. So all the way from prospect to interested client, prelim service fee paid, and so on. So I'm just going to select one of my existing jobs. If you don't have an existing job, you'll just hit the new job button at the top right-hand corner and just follow the prompts to create a job for yourself. I'll pick this one. Now, obviously, estimating comes a little bit on down the track. Like you'd have a first contact comes into your business, you'd put them into Xero, and you'd have some information around them in tasks and attachments and probably even iProxes to get to this point. But at the very least, you should make sure you've got a job number for a start. So you can generate that. If you don't already have one, there's a button here to say generate job number. Obviously, you'll need the contractual name in there, and the site address is actually quite important as well. So mainly for the postcode. So if you don't have a site address in there, click your address button and update the details. And the reason why the postcode is important is that a lot of your post-contract estimating catalog can use this postcode to adjust pricing. So different suppliers in different regions may have different pricing. Right, it picks up that region based on this postcode. Okay, so once you've done a little bit of homework there and got that set up, we'll find the Estimator tab. So click onto that one, and this is where you build up your bill of quantities. Now, we've jumped straight in. You would have already set up your catalog in here in admin. So that's covered under a different webinar series that we did. So you would need, if I just right click that, I'll have a quick look at the catalog. So your catalog is a full list of all of your items that you'll be adding to bill of quantities. Alrighty, so in this estimator tab on this job, we've just got a couple of panes here that I'll go through and describe. And the first one you're going to see with some information in there is your cost centers in here. So again, you would have had them set up in your admin cost centers. And they're all showing in here. And as you click through each of these cost centers, you'll notice on the left-hand side here, the bigger one, the items that belong in that cost center are available to add into this estimate here. Righty, so ideally, well, not ideally, but you can start very basically just by working through your cost centers, selecting them, seeing what's in your catalog and adding them into this estimate. So to do that, just double click one of the items, it'll get added in here, and you can just add a quantity. So it comes in with a default quantity of 1, and you might want 10. Right, and it'll adjust that. So it's pulled this pricing from your master catalog, which we showed just briefly before from admin catalog. But you can change that. So if for some reason on this job it's not going to be $25, we can change it to 30, for example. And you'll notice it's gone from your price level, which is maintained by your catalog, and mentions that this is a manual priced item. All right, so useful for future, but also it means you can update your catalog pricing but not affect your manual items. So we'll cover that in a bit as well. All right, that was adding a single item. You can go through and control click more items and right click, add to the bill of quantities, or shift click will select a block of those items as well. Alrighty, we've got our delete button. So if you don't want an item in there, you can control click, shift click any of those to highlight them and hit that little trash can there just to delete them out of your bill of quantities. Okay, now you can add a manual item too if for some reason there's something that's not in your catalog and it's just a one-off item that you don't want to add into your catalog. there's this little plus button just here. We can click on plus, and it'll give you a blank row to work with. Comes in as a manual price level item, of course, and you can just type in your item details. All right, so each one of these things has a workup as well. So as we select that, we've got workup text that goes behind that, and you can write notes in here. Now that will be shown on your purchase orders once they're generated. One little tip in here is you can put in this text here, which is just some square brackets with the word hide in the middle. And everything after that is text internal to you, for you and your team. They can see that, but it won't be printed on the purchase order. And of course, you've got your manual item there we just created. We can just set a unit price for that. Okay, now a few of these other tools here, we've obviously got, I'll choose a different cost center. So it might be okay. So this one is primarily Bunnings items in here for this framing hardware. So we can just add a few of those in. And what you'll notice is that it's coming in with Xero price. So the pricing that we saw before was local level pricing. This one is built up off your supplier pricing. And what will happen here is that we need to, for each of the loads that you're working on in this cost center, so a load is essentially a single purchase order. You can have many per cost center. Is you'll need to select a business from this list. So we've got a short list in here. If we select that and hit the enter key, that'll apply that supplier there. And it knows now that we're sourcing these items from Bunnings, and it will give us the price for each of those items in this list here. All right, of course, if we change that to another supplier, they won't have pricing in this catalog for these particular items, but if they did, it would show up here for their pricing. So essentially you can have a single item with pricing from different suppliers. Now, this is a short list which is set up from your admin. So I'll quickly show you that back in your cost centers. We have covered this previously. So the cost center we're working on was 340. So we'll find that one. And you'll see here, here's the list of suppliers that are showing up in that default list. All right, so there's one here that we didn't want. We could just remove them out. Supply that, and now our list is much shorter there. So when we come back in here, I'll just reload this. Go back to our cost center. And now we've removed that item from here. So we've only got those 3 items left. Okay, now very simply, we can create a purchase order from these items that we've added in here. So one, we need to select the load and a company for that. And there's a button here that says log orders. So we'll just click on that one. It's gone ahead, and a few things that's happened here is it's put a date ordered in here to let us know that it's done. You'll notice the ordered amount on this cost center has changed as well. So it's sort of locked that price in. And each of these items we can no longer edit. We can't double click them to change it. You can see there's an ordered tick box here, just letting you know that that's ticked. It's been ordered already. You can't change it. So if we add another item in now, it'll come in on load 2. All right, and give you another option here to select another supplier. So it could be the same supplier, it could be a different supplier, but it just means you can create a second purchase order on that cost center, or a third or a fourth, to any suppliers that you'd like. All right, if we have one more item in here, we can also just arbitrarily pick a different load as well. So we can make that load 3 ahead of time. So you'd pick your supplier for that one as well. All right, so what we've got here, we've got 3 items in this cost center that are all on load 1, and we've already logged that order and locked it away. We've got another 2 items here that will end up on load 2 when we lock that one, and a third one here as well. So we can just tick on that one. Okay, that's been ordered. Now, along with all those things that have changed on this screen, if we just shoot over to our orders tab here, these are the orders that we've just logged just now. And you'll notice this little exclamation mark. It's just asking us to generate the PDF order for this order here. So we click on that one, select that. This is what your order would look like. Okay, now you may have many, so you may work through, you may have 50 orders sitting here. You can, again, control click or shift click all of these to highlight them in blue. And if you right click on this load column here, there's a few options here, generate PDF orders. So if you do that, that will, instead of clicking each one individually to generate that order, to generate that PDF, it will do the whole lot in one go for you. We've got some copy orders to job. Generally, you wouldn't need this one. It's just a cheats way of getting these orders across to another job in your system. I wouldn't advise that using that until you're pretty familiar with how the other system works. Bulk send emails. So to send, sorry, oops, go back. To send one of these orders away, there's a little button over here, new email. If we click on that one, it'll pop up an email for you addressed to the supplier that you've selected. And in here, it's attaching everything. So we have gone through this previously, but in your cost centers, jump back to the cost centers again, there's a setting for this cost center. So inside here, I've got attachment filters. And when you're sending purchase orders, these are just some rules here to automatically attach some files. So in this case, it's going to automatically attempt to attach construction plans and the site safety rules. So that's what's come into here. So automatically, as you're sending off this purchase order, it's attached the site safety rules, it's attached the construction plans, and has also attached our purchase order here as well. And sorry, by attaching, I actually mean these are links, and we do that for a few reasons. And one of those is file sizes. So these files can add up to be quite large, and some plans can even be 20 or 30 meg plus. And there are still many email systems that won't receive emails that are that large, so they'll bounce back to you. So we do get around that by using attachment links rather than physical attaching files. There are options in here, of course, to physically attach files if you need to from your computer. All right, so if you go ahead and send that, that'll send it off to your supplier, and everything that you send from here will also end up in your emails tab for all of your business to see as well. So I'll just generate this one. Actually, I may just send this one to myself briefly. Just to show you what happens there. All right, so that's just pending. It can take a little while just to send in the back end there. Come back to that in just a second. All right, now what we will also do is go through and show you what to do if you need to make an amendment to this one. So we'll go back to our estimator, go to cost center 340 again, that's the one we're working on. And obviously these are locked down, so we can't make a change to this load one because we've already logged that order and sent that off. But if we needed to make a change, we'd need to click on the load there. We'll unlog that one. It will unlock everything for us. And we can make our change here. Add new items if you need to. I just quickly made that quantity change. All right, and then we'd go through here and we would relog that one. And on our orders tab, What we've got here, sorry, I'll just check that email again for you now. You can see that the email has been sent, it's finished. So we can see what was sent. We'll go back to our orders. And you'll notice this little icon here. This is, if you hover over the top of it, it will say the email was sent on this date and this time. And generally that would be black. So if you've generated an order, you've sent off the email, it'll just give you a little black note to let you know that it's been sent at a particular date and time. In our case here, it's highlighted in orange just to give you a little bit of a warning because we've modified this purchase order after it's been sent. So that's why it's in orange. Um, it has also given us this generate PDF order button again because it's detected that the content in our bill of quantities is different to the generated purchase order. So it's giving us an option to regenerate that PDF. So two things here. It says regenerate the PDF and the email we sent is old. So let's regenerate that PDF. Okay, that brings that up to date now. So this PDF will have our new content. So you've got our 10 quantity for that item. Let's refresh that again. All right, but we've still got this little orange calendar here to let us know that the last email we sent out an old attachment. So we'll have to go ahead and resend that one. So we go over to emails again. So that's the original one that we sent. Okay, this is an old file which will no longer work, but we needed to resend that to our supplier. So in a minute or so, that one will get sent off for us. As soon as that is sent off in the back end, here we go, it's already done. So that little icon we mentioned before, it's gone from orange back to black, indicating there's no problem. It has been sent on that date and nothing's changed since we sent it. Okay, now a few other tools I guess I could show you in here as well is as you click through your cost centers, it obviously gives you your catalog items that you can add into that cost center. But there may be instances where you still want to send something to the supplier of the sleeper retaining walls, but it's not in this catalog for this cost center. So just by clicking this little arrow here, click the down arrow, it'll give you access to your entire catalog regardless of which cost center. So this catalog is quite large now. So even though this particular item is for cost center 392, and we're working on cost center 90, it'll give us access to that and allow us to bring that item in. Alrighty, obviously a few other tools here. We've got show shared. This is if you've got a head office that's providing your catalog to you. You can add your own items into your own catalog. So show shared is on by default, and you'll see all of those that are maintained by your head office. If you turn that off, you're only going to see the items that you've created in your own catalog. Already, postcode got pulled from our job that we set up earlier. That just helps with the pricing when you select the supplier. All right, so that's essentially creating bill of quantities and purchase orders by individually working through each of these cost centers and adding individual items in. Now, a more advanced way to do this, so we've got some other videos on how to actually create recipes, which is a single item which contains many items that will explode into your job just to make your estimating life quicker, especially at the start of a job. So I'll just provide an example of how to use some of those. So click on our cost center here for estimating recipes. We've got that one specifically set up for that. That's where we're keeping all of the recipes. This button here I haven't showed you here, but if you tick on that, generally what we do is items with no pricing information we hide by default, but we'll just turn that off. These recipes don't have any pricing as such, so the pricing will come later after they're exploded. So we'll show all of those. So all of these are recipes. So each one of these, we should show you that briefly. Let's go to the catalog. I've got a tab open here. Here's some of these recipe items. So the standard items, I'll click onto recipes. So that one standard items, or that one standard item there, can potentially bring in all of these items for you in one go. All right, so we add that standard items recipe into our estimator for that job and explode it. All of these items will get exploded out into the individual cost centers. So as you can imagine, adding each one of these line by line would take a very long time. So if you do spend the time to set up your catalog like this, you end up with nice recipes that can can make your bill of quantities creation extremely faster. Righty, so we'll jump back into here. We'll add a few of these recipes in. Double click. We'll add a bricklayer one. Okay, so there are lots of different recipes in here that you can select from. I've just added a few in here. Now, when we add these recipe items in, we've got this recipe variables button, and it will go through, and essentially when you've created your recipes, it's asking for certain information so it knows how many items to explode and whether an item should be brought into your job or not. And you'll just go through and answer all of those questions. So this one is enter 0 for no gas or 1 for bottled LPG gas. So we'll just say 1 for bottled. Is it a single or a double-story house? We'll say it's a single. Is it a brick veneer or not? We'll say it is a brick veneer. 1 for steel frame and truss, yes. If it's a sales consultant, I'd imagine this one means if you've got a sales consultant that you have some sort of a commission fee that goes into this job as well. So no for that one. Contract price. Add that in there. Distance from breaking surf. That'll be a corrosion zone thing. Inside face of enclosed areas excludes cavity. Let's put a figure in there for that one. And bricklayer quantity. Alrighty, once they're all filled out, we can hit this explode recipes button, or explode all recipes. So before I do that, I'll shoot back into here and I'll show you what we're looking at. So this little button here, if you click it, it's only going to show cost centers where you've added items into them. Right, if you untick that, it's showing you all of your cost centers, regardless of whether they've got an item added in. So at the moment, we've got 4 active cost centers. So I'll go back into our recipes and explode all recipes. Okay, within a second, I'll click that button again. Now we have got all of these cost centers with items in them. Alrighty, so that's made your life a lot quicker to do it that way. All right, so generally this is going to come in without a supplier set. So now your job would be to work through each of these cost centers, confirm all of your quantities and make sure the pricing looks right to you, and obviously select your companies. So a lot of the times you may not know at the time of estimation who is going to be your bricklayer, for example. And one piece of advice here is just to set up a business contact just called subcontractor to be advised. And you can add that into here. So you've got a company to work with and you can create a purchase order for that. So essentially then your project managers could just hand that purchase order out to anyone they see fit. Obviously, if you need to, you know how to come back in here and reassign that company and regenerate the purchase order. So most of these are just subcontractors. So there'd be one I could just show you that will pick up the defaults again. Here we go. So geotechnical, these are our shortlisted companies that we set up back in the admin cost center section. Alrighty, so I applied that company, and this particular company, Intrax, had pricing in our database, in our catalog that come in correctly. And we can simply tick that button, create the purchase order, and that's good to go. All right, one other tool I can show you here. Estimators like to just color code things so you can see how far through this bill of quantities you've got. So you might start at the top and sort of work your way through, or chop and change depending on the information at hand. And you've got this little colored option here, which allows you to color this row. You might color that green. And essentially, that just lets you know that those items have been checked off and you're happy with those. And it does nothing else except for color coding. So you'll also notice that in this cost center list that they will get color coded as well, just to give you a visual cue that you're happy with that entire cost center there. Okay, one last thing for me to show you here as well is, let's have a look at this one. See, we've got robes in there, which we don't seem to. Robes and mirrors. Add a few things in there. Shower screens. And in our global variables, find one of those. All right, so each of these items set up in the catalog, they come in with this default workup that's in here. So there's some internal notes hidden by that hide command. But these items here, they will come into and be printed out on your purchase order. And you'll notice this section here with the curly brackets. So shower screen color. So you could go ahead and you could just type the color that you wanted in here. But that means for every item, you would need to make sure you do that. These little variables here, these global variables, allow you to enter that information once, and wherever that variable is used across many items, across all of your cost centers, they will share that value. So in our global variables here, look at the shower screen color. We can type that in here. And obviously you want to use your supplier's color system here because the purchase order has been given to the supplier. We've set that. So now when we generate this purchase order, pick our supplier, pick the supplier, it's generated pricing, and we can now log that one. Okay, that was costing us $670. We'll check our order. So 670, let's generate that one. Open the purchase order and the frame color white. So that value there, white, has been pulled from that global variable. So you can see there's a few items here. This next one is also pulled in the same color, and so is that one. So you can see how easy that would be to get wrong. If you're manually typing white into each one of those items, a lot of room for error there where you may forget to do something. So if you're always using your global variables correctly, they'll get propagated to all the correct items for you. Okay, so I've gone through the basic use of Estimator there, and probably the last thing here on this purchase order screen is just looking at this invoiced column. So this value column here comes from Estimator. So this is the value you're expecting. If everything goes according to plan and the suppliers charge you for the amount that you've estimated, that's the value. When you're using the invoices accounts payable module, your bookkeepers will have supplier invoices coming in. They'll get automatically matched to your purchase orders that you've created, and give your project managers a way to see whether the invoices coming in match your purchase orders. but they will all get tallied up as well against each one of these purchase orders, and you can see that visually. So you will see that, this particular supplier for this purchase order may have charged you $2,000 in invoices, but you'd only allowed for 1,926. So that gives you, or your business, an opportunity here to see everything that's an overrun and an underrun, and to try and work out why that's occurred. Right, so you'll see that in the variance column, and also just the figures in this column here. Okay, so that covers my quick session today.